Hey, it's Deep Focus. I'm your host, Mitch Goldman. It's Monday, July 8th, 2024. No, not right now while I'm saying this, but it was when we recorded this. It's a couple of weeks later. It's midsummer here in Midtown Manhattan. Looking at that big, lovely skyline. That's where we are. That's what we do, what we're all about. And if you didn't already hear part one, go back and check that out. Oh, man, this one is rolling through like a freight train. I don't want you to miss any of it. And so go check that out. Come back for part two. And there's 3 parts altogether. This is great stuff. Matt Garrison in the studio with me. And our topic is this moment in Miles Davis's life and career. Way too often overlooked. I'm calling on the Jazz Police to Jazz Police. That's the wrong thing we need. You want to know? I'm going to tell you something Sun Ra once said to me. Sun Ra once said to me, "We don't have a Justice Department." He said if we did, they would spend as much time honoring the just as they do punishing the unjust. Maybe he said that elsewhere too, but he said that to me backstage at the Bottom Line here in New York. And 1987. And, yeah, who's going to do that? Who's going to do that for us? All right, you are going to do that right now by giving your ears to the music of Miles Davis and the appreciation of Matt Garrison. It's Deep Focus. they're on their feet and maybe getting shown out the door. I don't know. But that is music that you've probably never heard before, unless your name is Matt Garrison. I know it's not. I know it's not because he's here in the studio with me. And he was there. Yeah. Matt, you were there. You were there. We were listening to Miles Davis, 1982. You were only 73 years old back then. You were 11.
Yeah.
And you were in the room. And that's Miles Davis. This is in Rome. And April of 82 with his, we could call him the comeback band. Band that brought him out of 5-year non-musical break, we'll call it. And so that's Bill Evans on the reeds, Mike Stern guitar, Marcus Miller on the bass, Al Foster on the drums, Mino Sinelu on the percussion, a bunch of young assassins. And
so badass. Wow.
What's going on here? What's going on in this music? We just made our way through this one set. I can't believe that's 46 minutes. It feels like I'm exhausted, man. I feel like I gotta lie down. That's too much.
Yeah, maybe that's why I fell asleep. I was, the overexertion of trying to comprehend what was going on at 11 years old. No, I don't know. As I was saying earlier, I actually did fall asleep during this concert for some reason. But I do remember being at the end of the concert where people were just on their feet going nuts. It was kind of a madhouse at the end. And it was in a big sort of circus tent. But, I mean, there was thousands of people in there. So it was a very large space, very big stage. When I did post this earlier today, I found some other Romans that were there.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
One's actually a bass player that I know. I had no idea that he was there that day. And now we have one more thing in common.
Yeah. Wow.
But, yeah, so, man, I mean, just the amount of communication going on between these musicians and the amount of sort of interplay and ideas. For example, never to take away from any one of these guys because what they're doing has always just been groundbreaking and sort of history altering in their own right. But, you don't really often hear them being as expressive as they are in this context. I would go so far as even talking about Miles. I mean, what he's doing,
Definitely.
What we just listened to.
Go on.
He's talk about a peak.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, he had many years to go even beyond this band. But, I mean, are we kind of really hearing what's going on here with Miles Davis alone?
A couple things that he did in there. First of all, he's hitting. Miles was never renowned for having an enormous range.
Right.
He's hitting notes here.
Man.
He was pretty sharp in some of those 70s bands recordings.
Dig it.
But wow, I mean, he's really in the stratosphere. And then he starts playing those long notes that I would imagine probably take more physical discipline than, ripping, flaming riffs. And he's really got control of the instrument, of his breath, and he's the
ideas, the flow,
he's no pun intended, but miles from where he was when I heard this band 10 months earlier. I mean, really, there was a real fragility about him, and he's kind of, it's Miles, so he's not showing his weaknesses. He's, trying to be
it's right there.
Warrior, but the band was clearly supporting him.
Yeah.
And when I saw this band, I may be misremembering. It's been a little minute, but what you're talking about, that expressiveness seems to me can only come from a kind of confidence, and that confidence can only really take its full flower when it's supported and encouraged by a band leader like Miles.
Yes, and I think we were just saying this too. Again, I harken back to this concept of the 10-month difference, but being able to have a band that can support a soloist of Miles's stature, given all the history that he had already gone through, and to have this new band of younger musicians that, of course, had already done their as much as they could up until that moment, but to really propel him forward so that he could hit that kind of information, man, that's that's a testament to what they were doing, I think, as a band. And again, we don't even have to rely on our words. All you have to do is listen to what we just listened to.
Yes, absolutely.
What they gave to him, it's really, and it's not just sheer power and strength and will and all that stuff. It's just the delicacy of the interplay and the listening to each other and interacting. Again, thinking about Stern and the way that he's playing chords and sliding around the instrument and creating these textures and the feedback and it's not very frequent that you hear Stern dive into the full complexity of what a beautiful guitar can be. And you said it even earlier. He had these moments of playing a Wes Montgomery type, with his thumb kind of, right?
Yeah.
Man, and then going all the way to a screaming. This is just incredible. And again, last thing, this is actually really interesting. The Marcus that we just heard towards the very end of this, where he just, all of a sudden you heard some slapping, right?
Yeah, right.
Up until then,
yeah,
it hadn't even happened. So we're talking maybe the last 6 minutes of 40.
Right.
6.
Yeah.
Right?
Everybody's got just this big vocabulary and imagination, and all of them. Bill Evans coming in one solo and then a whole other direction.
Yeah.
And kind of pairing up with Miles and that counterpoint and so many textures to get. And I'm not a composer. This is not necessarily as complex compositions and arrangements as we've heard from Miles and other times.
Right, true.
And yet, it's a full palette that comes out of it.
Absolutely. And I think it has to do a lot with how they're using phrases and silences and, cues, musical cues more than, I'm sure there's visual stuff. I can't remember everything, but.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Well, that's a funny thing, too. And I have recollections from 40 years ago. But, Miles, it didn't take much of kind of a roll of the shoulder or a turn of the head. And everybody went, oh, wait,
hey, let's go.
Did I mess up? Are we going there now? And I don't know if that was worked out in advance, but it kind of seemed like.
Wow, man.
Or he might play a few chords on the keyboard, and that would change the direction.
That reminds just one thing, coming back to this slapping part of Marcus. Again, the fanboy part in me, or the obsessive part of me in trying to understand what these gentlemen were doing. It led me all the way to a path. At some point I was coming to New York and I needed a bass, and I only had $200. And there was one bass that I really wanted, which was this Ken Smith bass. This way back before I started working with Fodera guitars. And that thing cost like $6,000, and I had $200 in my hand, and I was like, okay, well, this is, never going to happen. And one day I go to a party with my mom, because she's also in the city. We're visiting from Rome, because I still lived there. I think I was about 15 at that point, or 16. And so I'm looking for this bass. We're at this party with a family friend. Name is Timothy Marquand. He used to help my dad out with all kinds of stuff. Jimmy Garrison, by the way, my dad.
Yes.
In case anybody's curious. And he presented me to somebody named Mark Stevens. Mark Stevens was a vocalist, composer. I think he played a few instruments as well, in a band called Jamaica Boys.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? Mark let me know that he had a bass, because I told him I was looking for a bass. I only had $200, and he said, oh, I got a bass, So my friend Marcus gave it to me. And I said, Mark, but I only have this $200. He's like, oh, man, I haven't really been playing it. I'm sure Marcus would be happy too. Give me $200, here's your bass. So I got this bass that belonged to Marcus, and it ended up being one of the first prototype that a luthier named Roger Sadowski ever built for Marcus.
Wow.
In fact, it's on Marcus's very first self-titled record. Or I can't remember. It was his first record. It's on the cover of that.
Oh, wow.
I got that bass.
Wow.
For $200. Years later, I told Marcus I had, and he said, oh, cool, man, we'll just keep making music with it,
That's amazing.
But anyway, man, so think about this whole journey.
Yeah.
And by the way, it's not over. I'm so obsessed with some of these.
Right, yeah.
But, just to have that instrument and the legacy and the sounds and the textures. And speaking of that, the slap that he just did, it's very specific because at that point, I know this for a fact, he had switched out some of the electronics in his bass on a classic Fender Jazz, I believe it was, and put the electronics that were actually inside the bass that I have or something similar.
Wow. Which
actually sort of revolutionized the sound of bass guitars. Most bass players that come from a certain era know the crossover. And it actually happened when he was starting to work with Miles on these projects specifically.
Wow, interesting.
And there's that bass that I have is sort of this interesting bridge.
Yeah.
So there's a whole connection, man. That's also why I was so driven to find out more about this recording, because at that point I was trying to understand where did that actually switch over. Because there are a few recordings just before that, this whole We Want Miles and The Man with the Horn, and then that switch in electronics happens, and there's a new Marcus Miller texture.
Wow.
Not him musically speaking, but just the texture. Sorry, it's a little hot. So, but man, I just wanted to put that out there.
And Roger Sadowski, for those who don't know, would come to be revered.
Oh yeah,
master
absolutely.
luthier,
guitars and basses, absolutely incredible.
Yeah, brilliant guy.
And by the way, Marcus ended up also. There's I think when I was just doing some research, remember the Sunday night show with Sanborn?
Yes.
And Marcus playing with Miles that came in one of those episodes.
Right. Yeah.
And he's playing a Fodera bass now, because that's the company I've been working with for years. And he was playing a fretless, beautiful sounding fretless bass on a song called Mr. Pastorius.
Yes, that's right.
All these connections, man, forget it. Oh, my goodness.
Matt Garrison is my guest, bassist, and I think I referred to you in the socials as bassist / impresario.
Impresario.
Which I don't throw that word around all the time, but it seemed quite fitting. And because you have a fantastic venue that you're running, Shapeshifter Labs in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
And let me just say, anybody who's listening to this show, I have to say, I think we really appreciate being there. Yeah. And really special place. You've got, I'll just say a little bit of my impressions from having seen a bunch of shows there, that you've got kind of a combination feel of like a downtown loft scene from New York from a bunch of years ago, and a little bit of kind of a European vibe I've felt in a lot of venues where it's a very flexible space. One of the most impressive things about it to me is that lots of different kinds of music sound great there. I mean, I've heard some banging, blasting electric stuff that sounds great, and it also works really nicely as a acoustic space. You have a lot of flexibility of different things you can do in there and the way that it feels. And it's also got a kind of casual grace about it. You can have a beer and hang out with your friends, and I just think you've done a brilliant job answering a lot of needs that a lot of us have.
That definitely has come from requests and advice, and sometimes unwanted from our neighbors. Oh no, you should put this up, you should do this, you should do that. Look, but of course sometimes it can be annoying, but in the end it's actually, we do listen very closely to what folks are in tune with, because we are there to serve to a degree, you know what I mean? So I don't mean that in a servant manner, but you want to create something where people feel that things work. Definitely from the artistic and the cultural standpoint, that's really what I'm trying to achieve there. And my business partner, Fortuna Song, we've worked really hard at trying to understand what people are trying to get to, while also trying to put our message out there. And our message is, at this point, I've come to understand, it's pretty simple. Here's a space. Make the most incredible stuff you can possibly do in it. Yeah. I want to make that happen for you. I always missed that opportunity when I was sort of coming up in my sort of musical career, where I didn't often get chances to play the music in places that I wanted to. I made the request. I tried to push through. I tried with management. I tried with this. It didn't quite work out for me. But I always remembered what my mother did in her loft down in Soho, because that's where I grew up.
Okay.
We were part of the loft scene in the
I
70s.
did not know that.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
We had a loft.
Yeah.
On Crosby Street, and between Spring and Broome, and large space, almost like the last location. It had more of that feel there.
Yeah.
And what she did is she just figured, well, if I can't perform there, we'll just do the performances at home.
There you go. Yeah.
And she would bring all the musicians to her. And it would just be incredible, man. And that's what I grew up with.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. I had no idea. How about that?
That was my thing. In fact, the very first performance I did, I think I was 4. And my performance, my gig was to, in the middle of a dance show, walk out into the middle of the performance, open up a suitcase, get inside, somebody would close it and carry me away in the suitcase. That was my thing. And I'll never forget that. That was my first show, and now I had to repeat that somehow. But yeah, man, so Shapeshifter Lab is an expression of that time. Mm-hmm. It's an expression of what we're listening to right now that I'm so grateful and honored to have had the opportunity to work with some of these musicians, to talk with them, to learn from them. And whatever I can possibly do to give back to our community, not just musicians, but of course people that need to know about this music. This is my job. Aside from being a musician and a creator and all that stuff. I love being able to do those things as well. I just don't want to rely on that.
Yeah.
It's a little scary,
You're doing a fantastic job with it.
By the way, I got a message here from Will Calhoun.
Will.
Who says... nice show on KCR. You guys sound like scholars.
Little does he know. Will's been on here. We've done a couple of great ones.
I can only imagine. Yeah. But Hey, Will, what's up, man?
Hello, Will. Got to get you back in the hot seat.
Yeah.
And but yeah, just let me just say it again. So it's Shapeshifter Labs is on Union Street. Sorry.
Yeah. No
Shapeshifter Lab. Union Street.
Yeah, Park Slope, Brooklyn.
Right below
Union.
7th Avenue, right in the middle of all the... How did you manage to do that, man? That's
man. It's a strange miracle. It was coming out of the pandemic. The building was essentially abandoned. The family that owns it didn't really want to do much with it, just for, dealing with the city stuff. And for whatever reason, one of the family members showed us the space. I was like, wait, this is the old tea lounge.
Right. Yeah.
And it's right across the street from the food co-op,
Park
Slope Food Co-op. I had played there multiple times. I used to go there with my kids when they were younger just to hang out and have coffee and stuff. And just never in a million years would I have thought that we would have sort of opened Shapeshifter Lab after closing the last location right there. So it's incredible. It's a huge difference for us. I really hope that anybody that has a chance comes to see the music there because, man, first of all, it's 100 times better than the last location.
Yeah.
At least 100.
Yeah. You're talking just the location alone.
Just the location alone.
Yeah.
We have just the people just walking by are curious what's happening.
Yeah.
They'll wander in. Next thing you know, there's a beautiful performance space, and now they want to get married there or have a bar mitzvah.
Yeah.
And we welcome all of that, of course, because it helps us take one more step towards being independent and whatnot. But I'll add something important. We also have a nonprofit now.
Yes.
So we started as a for-profit entity, the venue itself, Shapeshifter Lab, and I think 3 or 4 years in, we noticed that there was a need to interject a nonprofit organization from an arts and culture standpoint because you could sort of accrue some financial resources to make that arts and culture presentation happen without having to panic, So we we have this nonprofit now. It's called Shapeshifter Plus.
Mm-hmm.
I would recommend anybody, if you have a chance right now, shapeshifterplus.org. And all of our arts and culture work now happens through the nonprofit.
Beautiful.
Meaning that Shapeshifter Lab is one company, Shapeshifter Plus is another. Mm-hmm. Shapeshifter Plus can operate wherever it needs to.
Gotcha.
But its headquarters are Shapeshifter Lab.
Gotcha.
But we have done many productions off-site, particularly upstate with Jack and Lady DeJeanette and Carlos Santana and John Batiste. That was all under our production capacity. And there's so much more we're going to do coming up. We've been working very closely with the Coltrane home right now and the Coltrane family, and sort of first, particularly we're working around the music of Alice Coltrane. We're engaging in something called the Year of Alice.
Oh, nice.
And so we did a few projects, one with Reggie Workman and Robbie Coltrane. Just phenomenal to hear Reggie's sort of input.
Yeah.
So we have that. I just exited from doing an incredible project with the Baryshnikov Art Center with a good friend of mine, Kawoto Watanabe. So we have a whole sort of reach into the arts and the culture world of nonprofit organizations. It's incredible to be able to work with this new sort of entity, and I encourage everyone to go check it out. Shapeshifterplus.org. There you'll see all the concerts that we're presenting right now. Last but not least,
go.
Very important thing.
Yes.
In addition to the Coltrane home stuff, my sister Maya Claire Garrison, who's also a choreographer and dancer, she's starting up a whole program at the space called Movement Arts Program.
Cool.
And I think her first, I can tell you a little bit later, but her first major thing is going to, I have it written here somewhere, but I'll tell you before we end. There's something, yeah, I'll tell you later. I'll find it.
Okay, yeah.
But she's just incredible. My mother's the dancer choreographer. We're deeply entrenched in the arts. I think what we're doing as a family has been foundational to the New York arts and culture scene. It's not always been respected for what we've contributed, but I think through the work that we're doing at the building and through the nonprofit, people are starting to really understand. We're here to stay.
Yeah, great.
Okay, there's more to come.
Anybody who appreciates what we do here in Deep Focus and at WKCR, you're going to feel right at home when you walk in the door at Shapeshifter Lab, and exactly what we try to do, of bringing attention to the music and allowing people to just have the space to enjoy and appreciate it. You guys are doing it right, man. There's a lot of, kissed a few frogs in my day, Matt, I tell you. And you got quite the prince coming along over there.
Oh, man.
Shapeshifter Lab on Union Street, right off 7th Avenue, right in the middle. It's like it's such a vibrant spot. I used to live around the corner from there, actually, and it's always been just a heartbeat kind of place.
Yeah, man.
Great spot.
It's so amazing. And many of those musicians, honestly, that perform there are also members of the co-op. So
right, sure.
So they go. In fact, we just had a town hall meeting with the co-op. Actually, presented their town hall meeting where they vote on certain foods.
Sure.
And
right.
We're a little cultish, all of us from the food co-op. We're going to start up actually a new program starting in September with them. Where I don't know if you know this, but the co-op, you can trade shifts for, if you're a performer, you can do a performance. And then some of your shifts can be counted as part of the workflow.
Right.
And so we're starting up. They used to do the performance program up on near Prospect Park. There was a beautiful building up there. But now we're going to start doing all of those performances. We still have to finalize the details, but it's all going to happen at Shapeshifter Lab.
Cool.
Across the street. So co-op members, be ready.
That's right. The Park Slope Food Co-op's a classic.
It's a classic.
Forever. And beloved.
Let me just say one thing. Sorry. This thing. So Maya wanted me to say our Movement Arts program, directed by my sister, choreographer Maya Claire Garrison, covers a wide range of disciplines related to dance, martial arts, yoga, and everything in between. Shapeshifter Plus is launching Movement Arts program directed by my sister. So this is really important. We have classes starting in August of 2024. But most importantly, my sister is conducting a series of demo classes for children's ages 4 to 12 at a reduced price on Friday, July 19th. Very important.
Coming right up?
Yeah, it's coming up. And look for those details at shapeshifterplus.org and click upcoming events, and you'll see all that stuff.
Beautiful.
Really cool stuff.
Matt Garrison here with us,
Thank
WKCR, with you. And we're in it, man. We are deep in it. We're in the deep focus.
Amazing.
We're in the zone. We're feeling
Amazing. I'm feeling it, man.
Well, we heard one whole set, and guess what? What could top all that? Oh, I didn't give the titles of the songs. There's only 3 songs that we heard based on this listing, which is incredible. There's so much music. But it was Backseat Betty, My Man's Gone Now, which that's a Gershwin composition, I think, and Aida.
Yeah,
that last one.
so
And
good.
Those, it's funny, I do remember him playing those songs. And, you can't, they're just signature sounds, right?
Yeah.
Each one of those little signatures, those little...
Masterpiece,
Yeah.
really. This recording is, it's actually a masterpiece. Just those 3 things that we just listened to,
Yeah.
just mind-blowing. I want to say one last thing about that. One thing that I actually really learned from working with guys like John McLaughlin and Zawinul and Herbie.
Yes.
There's something that is often overlooked, even by myself and sometimes younger generations, is the quiet part.
Yeah.
Right? Because we all have the capacity and certainly the power these days, particularly as electric bass players or guitarists. Turn that crap up and, man, this is, right in your face. That's great. But a counterbalance is to have the intensity at the softest level possible. And I think that's something that Miles really imparted very clearly to a lot of those folks that worked with him at the time that kept pushing that. And you hear that in this music as well. Those moments of just subtle, breathing, calm, and now as the storm is coming. But that's it. The arc of a performance, the story, what is being told.
Yes.
Man, he got a serious group of storytellers right here.
Yes.
This is deep, what we're listening to. Masterpiece, if you ask me, man.
I'm with you.
Woo!
All the way. All the way. All right. So if you're just coming along, it's April 26, 1982. There's a little kid sitting next to you, fast asleep.
Yep, maybe at this point.
11-year-old Matt Garrison. You were there in the room.
Yeah.
Teatro Tenda Pianeta.
Exactamente.
And it's Miles Davis with this fantastic band. This is the sextet that he emerged from a 5-year public silence with these guys. And it sure sounds to us like Miles could not be in better company. Miles Davis playing trumpet, and you'll hear him on some keyboards occasionally.
Oh, yeah.
Bill Evans, the soprano tenor flute player, also plays some piano. But in any case, Mike Stern on guitar, Marcus Miller on the bass, Al Foster on the drums, Mino Sinelu on percussion, all vibrant, full-throated voices, every one of them.
Good.
And we are going back in there now. So what do we think as I set this up? Did they think they probably turned the house? Or
I don't remember. Maybe I would imagine they were trying to sell stuff in between.
I think.
Beers and whatnot.
Yeah.
But that was a big theater. It was a place. I can imagine it's probably 1,500, 2,000 plus folks in the audience. That's what I remember. It's packed to the brim.
Well, here we go. Starting right here with Ife. It's Deep Focus. Matt Garrison's my guest. I'm Mitch Goldman, your host on WKCR. That is part 2 of this program from Monday, July 8th. It's always Monday, 6 to 9 p.m. That's when the show goes up on the air. And 2024, Matt Garrison in the studio with me. We're chopping it up with Miles Davis, 1982 in Rome. If you don't know Matt Garrison's work, you got a joy of discovery ahead of you. Check out all the stuff he's doing. When you're in New York, you're probably going to come to Brooklyn. That's where a lot of stuff's happening these days. And I don't know a better place for live music, and especially the music we like, than Shapeshifter Lab. That's Matt's place, and when you get there, you'll know it's just such an expression of love of the music. It's, I'll just say that a lot of the feelings that I have about doing this show, I see that at Shapeshifter Lab. So if you dig this, you're going to dig that. There's other cool spots too. And check out Matt's music. Check out all the stuff he's doing, all these great projects he's involved in. He's an amazing source of energy. All right. That's part 2. I'm going to see you over at part 3. There's 3 parts in total. Once again, it's 2024, July 8th. Matt Garrison on the topic of Miles Davis. I said 1981. This recording's actually 1982, but this is a whole raft of activity that flowed from the release of the album The Man with the Horn, Miles Davis emerging from his self-sequestration. And it's continuing and growing bigger and better in 1982. All right, see you over at part 3.